As you can see from the intro, I brought home a beautiful monstera today. This has really beautiful leaves. It has fenestrations on it. The leaves are 2 times the size of my face, but when you look closer at it, the pot is too small. The roots are all hanging out, and when you lift up the pot, all the roots are just jamming out of it. So this needs to be repotted really badly, and that's what we're going to do in this video today. If you guys are new to Feline Jungle, my name is Fiona and I make planty videos, so don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you get my videos weekly. Just a little backstory about this monstera. This monstera is actually mine. I bought this 5 years ago as a cutting, and I left it with my parents after I moved out of their house. So my parents are taking care of it. They're not the best plant parents out there, but they're really trying. Recently, they've been really excited about planting and growing plants in their home. They show me like updates of their plants every day. They actually also watch my planty videos, which I'm really grateful for their support. Recently, they started telling me about this monstera that hasn't produced a single new leaf for them, which is really strange because we're in growing season. Last year, it grew like 5 leaves in the same time that it did now, and instead of growing leaves, it's actually losing leaves, which is very strange. There's no sign of root rot when I'm like checking on it, and also the leaves are really healthy. There's no sign of pests, and the only thing I can think of is that the pot is just too small for it, and when I checked, it's severely root bound. All the roots are coming out of it right now, and that's probably why the growth is stunted. So what we're gonna do in this video is just separate the plants. There's 2 plants in here. There's a baby monstera that doesn't have any fenestrations, and then there's a huge one with these big beautiful leaves, and this probably needs a lot more room to grow in. So my parents do want to keep this pot that they hang in their bathroom. It's way too small for both of these plants. So what I'm going to do is keep the smaller one in this plastic pot and then steal this big one and put it with the monstera that I have over here, which is giving me a new leaf. Here are the monsteras I'm going to be repotting today. There's 3 plants. This one is mine that I keep in this corner. And then there's 2 plants in here, which is from my parents that I talked about. It's in a self-watering pot. Okay, so I'm gonna start on this plant because there's a lot to do. First thing, we have to wipe off these leaves. It's so dusty. It's good to wipe off the leaves because it will help the plant absorb more of that sunlight when it's not dusty, and also it'll help get rid of any pests that could be living on your leaves. So it's a good habit to just get into wiping the leaves off. Now I'm gonna try to take this plant out of here so that I can position it in this larger pot. This is gonna be very difficult because my parents, they wanna keep this self-watering pot and they still want a monstera in here, so I can't really damage the pot, but I'll try my best to take out these roots. Now this is gonna be tough. So as I'm trying to take this plant out, I'll give you a little backstory. I got both of these cuttings at the same time 3 years ago. Back then I was living at my parents' house, which is a lot smaller apartment. So I actually wanted cuttings because I know that monsteras can get really big and I didn't have the space for a big plant. So I liked that it was in water and that it was a smaller cutting than what you can get. And I got these for like $10 a piece, which was a pretty good price back then. Now you can get like a full-size monstera for like 14 bucks. I just saw it at Trader Joe's for 14 bucks, which is why I know. All right, let me try to take out these bigger roots over here. Do you see it? This one's like really caught in here, so I don't know. I might have to, if I don't want to break the pot, I think I might have to cut some of these roots down. So yeah, it wasn't until, these were living in water for a very long time. It wasn't until I moved out of my parents' house and I was in a bigger apartment that I put them into soil because I wanted a bigger monstera plant. But before then, it was like a 1-leaf cutting. Oh, this isn't as hard as I thought it would be. Okay, I got part of it out over here. You see how root bound this is? This is crazy. And like monsteras are very prolific at growing roots. Like, they will easily outgrow a pot. So they've been keeping this in here for a very long time. And it's funny because they know that the roots are out of control, but they just don't want to do anything about it. So I'm like, you know what? Let me just help you guys out and repot it. So you see here, it's like very stuck. Let's see how I can take it out. Push in the plastic. And it's okay if we lose some of these roots because there's so many roots anyways. And ow! And like, the roots will grow back. I'm sorry, I just have to like rip out some of these roots to free this plant. I'm so sorry. Please just come out here. Okay. You see the difference of like these aerial roots compared to the Monstera I have? These are a lot longer. They were basically hanging out of the pot. And I think I know why, because they put this in their bathroom. So it always has that extra humidity from when they take a shower, when they're brushing their teeth. And I believe this Monstera was putting out roots to absorb all that extra moisture. See, oh, I broke that. I'm so sorry. You're gonna be okay though. And like for people who are just getting into Monsteras, people always talk about the big beautiful leaves. Most of the time they don't talk about these aerial roots. So when I got my first Monstera and I started seeing these aerial roots, I started to freak out. But this is completely normal. They have aerial roots because they're epiphytes and they grow on trees in the wild. So they use these aerial roots to latch onto trees and grow vertically. These are climbing plants. Okay, I have to snap this one. Look at it. How am I gonna get this one out? I think I'm gonna have to snap it. Oh, this looks so painful. I'm so sorry. Okay, and it's free. Look at it. It's such a small ball of roots compared to how big these leaves are. So it's screaming to be repotted. Now I'm going to just separate the two plants that are in here. Oh, did I talk about the two plants that are in here? They're both from the same plant. But the stem got really long and it snapped. So one part of it had the leaves and then the other part was just like a stem with no leaves. And it started growing a growth point, which is over here. And it started giving out these leaves. You see these leaves? They don't have the split fenestration, the split or the holes in it. It's because usually when it's coming out of a new growth point, it will revert back to the juvenile stage where it has just the heart-shaped leaves. It'll take a lot longer for the fenestrations to come out, but it will come out eventually. All right, this is gonna get messy. We're doing this on a very hot day. I think there's a hurricane coming, so it's like super humid. I'm like dying. I'm sorry if you hear my breathing. It's like very heavy breathing. This is most work I've done all week. Usually I'm just like sitting at a desk. Okay, as I'm like splitting this, I see that the aerial roots are all coming out of the bigger plant. So the bigger plant really needs the space for the roots to grow, which is why it's giving all these aerial roots. Okay, I got it separated, good. Okay, now you can see, look, you see this? So all that aerial root was coming out of this plant. Is screaming to be repotted. Look at this. And then this one is the baby one of baby roots. Let's start with the easier task. We're just gonna repot this. back into the self-watering pot. We're gonna use the potting mix that I made in last week's video. If you guys are interested in that, you can check it out how I make my own potting mix over here. Okay, I have to find the string that came with this pot. You want that little piece of string. Now that we have that, we can start potting up the new soil. Did you realize that there wasn't a lot of soil in this pot before? It was just all roots. Have some potting mix on the bottom. You can place this back here. I have a feeling that this monstera will grow out of this pot really quickly. I don't even know how we had 2 plants in there. That wasn't as bad as I thought. I thought it would be more work, but that wasn't that bad. There wasn't much casualties. I think I only broke off like two aerial roots. Okay, now that we have it in here, just give it a good shake. Make sure everything's in position. It's so cute, look at it. It's so cute. Tiny little baby monstera. Now we can put this back in this self-watering pot. This is what I'm gonna give back to my parents. They're gonna be like, what happened? Why is it so much smaller? Okay, now I'm gonna tackle the other monstera. Take this pot out of the way first. This is the monstera that I have living in my apartment. As I said, did I show you this new leaf yet? This is the new leaf that I have. It's still soft, so when it hardens, it's gonna be a lot bigger than this. Currently, it's living in this 8-inch terracotta pot and this moss pole for support. This helps the monstera climb, so I'm just gonna take off the gardening tape and take off this moss pole so that I can repot it. If you guys are interested in the moss pole, I'll leave it in the link. I like this. This is from Amazon. It's extendable, so when it gets bigger, I just put in the next moss pole in it and it'll just be bigger. You can see the soil's a little bit compacted just because I have these stones in it. These stones are left over when Ding was still a little kitten. He used to bite my monstera and like dig up the soil when I had it on the floor. So these rocks are really helpful in stopping him from digging up the soil. He doesn't do that anymore, which is why it's not full of pebbles. It's just like the remains of what used to be. But I'm gonna take those out because I realized that these stones is making the soil very compacted and there's no aeration. So the soil is very stiff. And what I realized that when I had the rocks in it, it also retained a lot of moisture and like fungus started growing on in the bottom of it, which is not good. Let me just show you some of the roots. Look at this thick, juicy root. This is an aerial root that I just stuck back into the soil. So if you don't know what to do with your aerial roots, just stick it back into the soil. It will help it grow bigger. What I'm gonna do now is just shake it out a little bit so that the roots are not compacted and it can grow. If you don't do this, if you don't shake out the root ball, it will just keep growing in the same size that it is now. So I'm just gonna shake it out a little bit so it can grow. It smells like earth. Yeah. Most of the time I can't smell. I have like the worst sense of smell, but because it's so hot today, I feel like my senses are like super heightened up and I just smell and feel everything. The roots look healthy, no root rot. Both plants look healthy actually. All of the plants look healthy. Okay, I think this is good. You see how it's a lot looser than before? Now it's gonna have room to grow. Here you can see some of the older soil. I'm just gonna reuse it because I checked the plants. They don't look like they have any pests. So I think it's fine to just reuse some of this old soil for the base. Oh my god, I lied. There is root rot. Oh my god, this is gross. This is root rot. This is bad. How did this happen? How is it still growing? Why is it still giving me a new leaf? Since it's still giving me a new leaf, I think it's okay. So a little bit as rot is fine. I think that's why it's still growing, because it has these aerial roots. Maybe that's what I was smelling, not earth. I was smelling the rot. What you want to do is just cut above where it's rotting. So anywhere where it's hard again is healthy. So you just want to cut it above right here. Oh god, this is so gross. Here. This is rot. You want to take that off. Make sure there's no other places where it's rotting. I would sprinkle some cinnamon on this too, because cinnamon has antibacterial properties, so that will help it stop the rot. So just do that. Wow, this is good that I repotted this, because I would have never found the rot if I didn't do this. I'm not too worried just because it's still giving me a new leaf and the other roots look healthy. So how can you tell if a root is rotting or not? You will feel that it's soggy. Like when I touch that, I'm like, oh my god, this is bad. That was very soggy. But these ones are very hard and firm, so I know they're healthy. I'm gonna give it a moss pole. So I want to position it in a way where they're both going to be attached onto the moss pole nicely. Do you see this? It looks very nice and full. Wow, this makes a good thumbnail. Okay, I think we got it. I think we got the position. To position, we're just gonna lock it in place by putting soil back into the pot. So this soil mix has a lot more perlite and bark in it, so it will help with drainage. You see how important drainage is? I think the reason why that part rotted was because the rocks was compacting the soil, so the water was not draining, which is why it was rotting. So I'm gonna make sure I add extra perlite, extra bark into this so that the water drains out properly. Especially with a bigger pot, I have to be very careful with the watering, because if I put too much water, it might rot again. All right, I used up all my soil. I need more soil, be right back. Alright guys, I'm back. Oh, that was so much work. I just made a new batch of soil, same mix, but I added just a little bit more perlite because I'm afraid of root rot. Was this how it looked like before? I think so. Yeah, that looks nice. It's still not secured in place, so I need a little bit more soil on this side. It's looking real nice. Looking real nice. Okay, now it's secured in place. It's not shaking anymore. I'm just gonna add a little bit more soil on top. I don't want to cover the base too much with soil, just because I don't know if that also led to the base rotting. Smack a little bit more of that soil in the back. Okay, this is a lot of work. Looking good. Okay, last step. Now that we have everything nice in the pot, is to add a moss pole. I'm just gonna use the old one that I had for the Monstera. Put that in the center. Do you see it? It's right in the center. What I'm gonna do is position the base of the plant, this base, up against the moss pole. This will give it the support it needs to grow vertically. And this will also help it grow bigger leaves. Now that we have 2 plants, I don't know if this tape is enough. I love this gardening tape. It's a little bit expensive, but it's basically Velcro and you can reuse it again and again, so I love it. Ta-da! What do you think? How's it look? It looks good? Chucky's shaking his head. It doesn't look good. That doesn't look good. It's gonna open the Velcro again. Wrap it around this leaf as well. I think my job here is done. I think we're good. We successfully repotted my 2 monsteras into this big pot. Hopefully they'll be happier here. I don't have to worry about the aerial roots anymore because they're all in the pot, and it has a nice moss pole. It looks a lot fuller. I left about like a rim of space here just in case this plant wants to expand any further. Usually what I do is I just like shake it up and add more soil, but for right now I think this is a good amount of soil. I left some of the aerial roots out here just because it's used to being exposed. I left the aerial roots out here. Here you can see the base. I have it right up against the moss pole to help it climb onto it and grow bigger leaves. I did that on both plants. This one, the base is also exposed. I'm wondering if before the base was too deep into the soil, which is why it rotted. So now I'm gonna make sure that it's above the soil line so it doesn't rot again. Thankfully, the plant still looks really happy and it's giving me new leaves. So that goes to show that a little bit of root rot is fine as long as you catch it in time. It was good that I caught it and I put cinnamon powder on it to prevent the rot from spreading. I'm gonna keep a really close look at this plant to make sure that the rot doesn't affect anything else. Right now it looks fine. The plant is probably in shock because I did damage some of the roots did snap off, so I don't want to fertilize it. I'm just gonna leave it in here, put a little bit of water. I'm not gonna soak it completely with water, just so it can get used to this pot. Much like humans, plants also have to get a little bit of time to get used to their conditions. So I wouldn't be too worried if the plant looks a little bit sad for a while. It's just gonna bounce back up once it gets used to being in this pot with its new friend, or should I say old friend, because I actually got these cuttings at the same time, so they're finally reunited together. We successfully repotted my 2 monsteras in this pot. Thank you so much for coming along my journey to repot this. It was a surprise finding root rot. I'm very disappointed in myself. I gotta water less. But thank you so much for watching this video, and if you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with all your friends. Thank you so much, and see you guys next week. Bye! Cut! Cut. We successfully Chucky says I've successfully failed.
Face. Look.
I'm tired. I need a nap.